Hey, ADHD fan. Are you tired of regular energy drinks? Do you need a pick-me-up that won't make you crash or give you the jitters? Zoom on over to WIA Energy. They are a clean energy drink company that was created with you in mind. These powdered drinks will give you no crash, no jitters, and no angst like many other energy drinks out there. They are a US-based company that doesn't hide what's in their products. Pick up one of their tubs of powder to help energize your day. They have a lot of fun flavors and even some licensed ones with solo leveling. Each serving comes out to about $1 per drink, which is much cheaper than getting Starbucks, Dunkin', or any other canned energy drinks. And with our promo code, you can save 10%. Use code ADHW at checkout to save some green. That's ADHDUBBY. Check it out in the show notes below. Pick up your tub today and stay energized.
This episode's intro and outro music was brought to you by Solar Bloom with the title, It's a Tiny World. Check them out on Apple Music, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your music.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the ADHD podcast. This is your place for animation and fun. I am your host, Steve.
And I am your host, Rob. And today, guys, we are joined by a very special guest. We're joined by the co-lead of the Women in Animation chapter of NYC. We are also joined by the director and creator of Sundays, the short that's been going around in the theater in the festival rounds. So, everybody, let's welcome in Ashley Gerst.
Everybody, thank you for having me.
Of course, thanks for hopping on. I really appreciate it. And I forgot to mention, along with all of that, the most important thing. She was my former teacher at Montclair State when I was in animation studies, and I still have my book DVD.
You put some respect on that name. That is a professor, not a teacher, good sir.
Yeah, I apologize. You're right. And I still have the DVD of the flipbook project that you gave us from that. I still hold that.
My goodness. Back when DVDs existed.
DVDs still exist.
I still try to keep them around.
When we made DVDs as artists, it's not so much anymore.
Yeah, no, it goes straight to YouTube now.
A lot of online portfolios or working with USB drives and all of that fun jazz. I still remember some of the stuff for when I had to do things for my photography classes, but the nice thing is all of that was traditional and historic processes, so not much digital there.
So just rolling right into it, for those who don't know out there, I mentioned in the front that you are the co-lead of the Women in Animation chapter in New York. Would you mind kind of explaining what that organization is and what being the co-chair does and what you have influence of doing?
Sure, absolutely. So I've been a co-lead for WIA NYC New York City chapter now for, oh my goodness, it will be in December, it will be 7 years. So I don't know how that happens. It's been quite a while. So the main goal of WIA is to focus on uplifting underrepresented genders within the animation industry. We are formerly Women in Animation. We, as of a year ago, so this is really very recent, we rolled out new branding and new mission statement and initiatives a year ago. We were Women in Animation, and now the goal is to really serve all underrepresented genders within the animation industry and uplift those underrepresented genders within the animation industry. And that does include, that's not just animators, that includes anybody that works within that industry. So from producers to sound designers, game design, it kind of runs a pretty wide gamut there in terms of like what someone's role might be. And so as a co-lead, there's three of us. As a co-lead, my main responsibilities have usually been social events, although I've passed the torch now on to we have like a community lead who has been taking charge of that. And one of my big focuses now as a co-lead is our film festival, which runs this year. It will be in November. It's always in the fall. And this will be our third year doing it. It's a big undertaking, but it's a wonderful undertaking. And I'm the director of the festival. So just a shout out to anybody in the greater New York area. The festival is currently seeking submissions up until August 21st. If you are a WIA member, it is free for the early bird deadline, which has already passed actually, and then now the regular deadline. Afterward, the extended deadline is a discounted rate. And the extended deadline starts July 1st, will be the beginning of that one. So you have the regular deadline, you have until July 1st to sign up for it. It's free for WIA members. If you're not a WIA member, membership is a range, anywhere from free to hundreds and thousands of dollars. Like if you want to donate that, like, so it just is kind of up to you. There's I want to say it's the maker level. I get these people confused. I want to say that it is the maker level that is $25 to join, and then that is the student WIA membership. And then the creator level, I think, is the next one up, and that one is $50. But you can join for free, and each of those tiers unlocks like different things, from like panels to our Discord server. We have mentorship circles. We have in the greater New York area, we do all sorts of different events. We've got a few Pride events upcoming, and we also do a potluck. We do the film festival, which is called the WIA NYC Animation Festival, and you can find the festival on Film Freeway to submit. And then the website to join is weareWIA.org. It's down right now, but it should be up soon. We're having some website issues for the last like week or so, but hopefully it'll be back up.
That's awesome. So what kind of got you into this initially, for like finding out about this organization and then I'm guessing becoming a part of it as a member and then growing like within the ranks of everything?
Absolutely. So I've been a member for quite a while, sort of on and off. There was like a couple of years there where it was like less active and I was not a member, but I've been a member since, I want to say 2009 or so. And then there was kind of a point where there were meetups and things like that. And I was networking. I was I was a student at the time in 2009 at School of Visual Arts. I was getting my master's there in the computer art department. And then I graduated. So I was really interested in like networking. And then we I feel like it kind of like petered out a little bit, and then it came back kind of full circle, and the membership really grew in maybe like 2018, and I took on I basically just said I want to volunteer and I'd like to do like community events. Like I wanted to do social events, like meet and greets with people, or like I did a lot of like events that like took place at a bar and we all go and hang out, or like show and tell, like showing your animation at a place that allowed us to use their screen, usually a bar or a restaurant that would have like a screen in the back that we could use. So I started kind of doing those types of initiatives, and then eventually one of the other co-leads stepped down, and she was taking on greater responsibilities at work and a different role within WIA, and could no longer be a co-lead. And then she recommended she asked me if I would be interested in the role, and the answer was yes. So, and I'm very grateful that she offered me that opportunity.
Well, that's awesome. Coming from a person who has sat on a lot of different committees over my lifetime, within just the churches that I've grown up in, I understand that like once you get into something it's that you are very passionate about, people will see what's going on and be like, hey, cool. So while I'm stepping down, we need you to step up. And it seems like every time that something like that happens, you always find the person that is perfect for the role. And it sounds like they found the absolute perfect person for this role.
Thank you. Yeah, so far I'm absolutely loving it. I'm really passionate about the message that and the goals of WIA, and I'm really happy to continue finding what my talents are and helping continue that message and outreach.
I love that. I absolutely love that. It's kind of like the sports analogies that you hear a lot, where it's like the next guy up, and you were the next guy up, and you're taking on the mantle now, and it's awesome to hear that. So, like, as that role as the co-lead, kind of what are some of those barriers that are still existing? I mean, it's pretty prevalent to anybody with looking in at this point because the animation industry itself is just pretty rough. But speaking in terms of gender outside of just males getting into the industry, what are some of those barriers that still kind of exist there? And what could studios, in your opinion, be doing better to try and make that easier for people?
Great question. So I don't have a statistic that I'm familiar with regarding people that are trans or non-binary, but within the animation industry, only about 23% of the full, gigantic animation industry, only about 23% of that workforce is female or identifying as female. And which is very low. And then the higher up you get within like animation roles, like director and lead animator and things like that, they're less likely to be a woman. And again, I don't really have the metrics for someone that's non-binary or trans, but identifying, but those have to be pretty low as well. It would be my guess. And so I will say that in New York, and the New York studios here are very supportive. And actually, a lot of the New York studios are founded by women, Mighty Oak being a really great example, or co-founded by women. So I feel that while there's still a lot of growth and a lot of things that need to be changed, I feel like New York is really showcasing a positive example of female and underrepresented genders represented within the animation industry as a whole. Obviously, things could, we want 50-50, so things could always be better, but I do think that things are, especially from what I see in my orbit in New York, moving in the right direction. But when it comes to the animation industry, we've really just had such a rough couple of years, a lot less freelance work, and AI was really like one of the last, it was like the nail in the coffin, kind of. Like, I think a lot of people blame AI for this, but really it was so many things over the last 20 years leading up to this being like the final straw. And I think that we're seeing a lot of backlash for AI, and we're seeing a lot of work starting to return. So I'm very optimistic now, as of today, in a way that I wasn't even 2 months ago. So I'm feeling a lot better about where things are going. We've had a lot of work go overseas, especially because there are better tax incentives in Canada than there are here. We're seeing a lot of layoffs in larger studios, and we're seeing a lot more studios being run more with tech in mind instead of story in mind. And so that's starting, people just don't want to go see those movies. And that's why we're starting to see some really cool stuff happening with YouTube. And I feel like that's been around for a while, but I feel like everybody all of a sudden realized it. That we're not already in that sphere. All of a sudden all the glitch and there were predecessors to that, Newgrounds and stuff. I mean, this kind of thing has been around for a while, and why can't I think of it? Bravest Warriors.
I love Bravest Warriors.
The first Bee and Puppy Cat, before the Netflix picked it up. This has been around, and this has been happening for quite a while. And if you're in that sphere and you're aware of it, but all of a sudden all these Hollywood executives are what's Glitch? Why is this doing so well? And they're trying to figure out like what to do with that. It's really very interesting. So overall, this has become like kind of a more rambly answer that is not necessarily focused on like WIA and WIA's initiatives. But overall, I'm much more confident in the future of independent artists within the animation industry and like independent intellectual properties, as opposed to say focusing on like Marvel for like the millionth movie. So I think and Mandalorian, for example, didn't do as well as like Obsession and Backrooms. And we're starting to see like a really interesting shift.
We are. I agree with you exactly. Like I was in the theater to watch The Amazing Digital Circus because I picked up on that when it first launched, and I also went to go see Backrooms, and it's just so nice and refreshing to see the indie animation field get their spotlight that like they've deserved for so long, even with like Tomska and ASDF films and the old End of the World stuff on YouTube. Like I totally agree that the indie scene is long overdue for a takeover of the industry, right?
Hey, End of Z World started off on Newgrounds, dude. I remember watching that there.
It's still one of my favorites. One of my favorite online videos. It's hilarious to me.
You do understand that we're of that generation that if I look at somebody and they look tired, I'm just like, but I am a little tired. I'm like, fine, go take a nap. Separate missiles. And people look at me like I grew a second head. I'm like, wow, you all suck and make me feel old.
Why does nobody get my reference?
I feel like Steve Rogers from the first like Avengers movie. Like, oh, I got that reference. I know that one. But just to back up a little bit, I know that we've done a lot of talking about WIA and everything. What got you into animation, and what are some of the things that you've worked on within the animation field?
So I have always, I guess just like everybody else that ends up in this field, like you're always kind of like creative or interested in animation. But I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. My family kind of always had this idea that maybe I would be someone that would like become an accountant, which is what my dad did, and my grandfather did. And my grandfather started Gerst tax service, which it is at this point it's been sold to outside our family. But there was a point where like maybe I would do that, which would have been truly terrible for anybody that would allow me to touch their taxes. I'm terrible at math. I have zero interest in doing it, and like it just wouldn't have been a good fit. And I think that everybody like knew that, but like we weren't quite sure what I was gonna do. And then when I was about 10 was when Pocahontas came out. It was the summer I was 10, and we went to go see it. And then this was in downtown Cleveland. We have like sort of like a large building, kind of like the Empire State Building, but it's called the Terminal Tower, which I really think
I've driven by it. I was actually just out in Ohio 2 summers ago with one of my church organizations. We were over near like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and you got to check out like Cedar Point. I have family that lives in Columbus, Ohio.
Excellent.
I have a deep-seated hatred for Ohio just coming from New Jersey. It's just how it is. But no, I know exactly what you're talking about. And
yeah,
yes.
But I wish it had like a better name, because it sounds like it's like going to die. Like it's terminal, like, and I understand that it's because all the trains converge there. It's like it's where like the transportation converges. And I understand that that's why it's called that. But anyway, if you didn't go inside it, it is a tower, and it is like a tall skyscraper building. But the first like 2 or 3 floors is a mall, like a gigantic mall with like the Disney store in there, and like Abercrombie and Fitch and stuff like that. And then, but in the middle, like there's this big courtyard area like a fountain, and they had this set up for like very young kids. So I was like very bored at it because I was 10, but like where you could meet someone dressed up like Pocahontas, and you could go like, there was like a little tree maze you could go through and stuff. And it was really for much younger kids than me. And I was there with my cousins. And I was like bored out of my mind. I was like so bored. And then like I turned this corner and there was like this little stand that was set up like it was like a big circular like set. And it was supposed to look like a Disney animation studio with like the desk and the light box drawing station and like characters and stuff like behind it, like all set up like this little like office desk situation. And there was someone there that like showed how the animation process worked, and he animated Miko the raccoon. Mm-hmm. And that just like a light went off, like this boom. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. And then that kind of ended up influencing everything else that I have done since. And so it wasn't really something like I didn't really know the process or understand it at the time. It was not really, this was like the 90s, like you just couldn't find that on the internet, like where someone like shows you how to do something. So like all my family, for the most part, like my dad was an accountant, my mom was like a secretary. Most of my family worked in blue collar jobs. My grandfather was a truck driver. Like just that type of experience or anything in like a creative field was just like non-existent. It just wasn't even like a thought. So that's kind of like what started all of this. And then I went to Cleveland Institute of Art for undergraduate, and then I moved to New York City and I went to School of Visual Arts to get my master's. I graduated during the I graduated in 2007, but then the recession was right after that. So there really wasn't like a lot of work. I was a scientific illustrator briefly for the Natural History Museum. That was a lot of fun. I worked in like the children's area, doing some stuff for them and like building like interactive things. There was like, of course, like a digital illustration component to that, part-time. And that was pretty cool. And I was a teaching assistant at Cleveland Institute of Art after I graduated. So I did have, some other like creative stuff happening, but I wasn't really I was not going to find a job in animation in Cleveland. And so then the recession, then there was this recession, and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to find work. I'm not gonna be able to find work here, so I should go to a place where the work is. And I also should get my master's so I could teach. At that time, I realized I wanted to teach as well. So went and got my master's. And since then, I've done a lot of like commercials. I've done a lot of like motion graphics for commercials. I've done a couple title sequences, including Can You Keep a Secret, which I think might still be on Netflix. I did that in like 2019, I think. 2019. I've done, I did a short for Sesame Street, which is the last thing that I've done. I haven't had any freelance in a little while, unfortunately, but the last thing that I did was like those like short 1 minute long segments that like teach you how to count or talk about like a certain letter or concept. So mine, I was invited to pitch, which was really cool. And they gave me prompts, and I picked number 5, and it had to be, basically they said there were like 3 different numbers and then like a theme associated with it. So I chose number 5, and it had to be about jobs. So I ended up doing I pitched a 1 minute short where a woman walks, is a dog walker, and she walks 5 dogs to Central Park, and she has put 5 leashes on them, which I would not recommend ever animating anything like that ever again. Originally the leashes were already on them, and then they wanted, because for like children's learning benefit, they wanted me to put the leashes on, and I'm like, oh my god, that was horrible.
Like, sure, I'll do that.
A little action, like where it's gonna go, like
and like all these chords, and then they have to overlap with each other, and they're all on their own layer, and I was just like ready to just give up. Like that was horrible. And then she puts the leashes on, she takes them to Central Park, they get a treat at like a dog treat vendor. He looks like a hot dog stand, like cart vendor, but he sells dog treats. And that's like the end of the segment. So that was a lot of fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
I've also done some of my own shorts. I just finished one called Sundays in January, and I've started submitting to film festivals, and it's been accepted into a few and has screened at a couple already. It's screened in Sarasota Film Festival and the New Jersey International Film Festival, and then upcoming will be the Snake Alley Film Festival, and I got into 2 others that I'm not allowed to say yet. So, but I'll be able to announce those in mid-July.
Okay, I was gonna be like, swear to God, if you go to Tribeca, we usually try to go to Tribeca every year, and I'm like, mother puss bucket. The one year that we actually may know somebody in it, and we can't go. Oh my God!
I'm so excited for you, by the way, for the Sundays, for it being out there in the world. I was just casually looking one day, and I happened to see it on my Instagram, and I was like, yes, let's go. Give us a little insight on the story behind Sundays and the really interesting treatment that you used behind the making of that. And kind of just also like how long that process actually took to do all of there's a lot of, I'm trying to think of the right word, but naturalistic detailing to it and natural elements to it that probably made the process a lot longer, but definitely worth it.
Thank you. Well, I actually ended up scrapping a lot of the natural stuff. I made it still look like that, but it's all digital. So I cheated eventually. It was just going to take too long. I was like,
nobody was going to know. You don't have to say that. You can say like, thank you. Of course it was natural.
So the film is inspired by my relationship with my dad. Most of my films are kind of like magical realism, sci-fi, fantasy genre. That's the type of thing I really enjoy. I love like dystopian stuff, and I love older, like previous time periods, like nostalgic time periods. So I love forests, and so I usually try to do more magical things. But this one is truly just very much a memoir. It is just about my relationship with my dad. He passed away unexpectedly in 2019, and so I wanted to do something that was just very much about like a father-daughter relationship and about how I felt about my relationship with him. So it's just about his influence on my life, my grief in dealing with that. But typically, the majority of my films are not like that at all. So this was very, very different. A lot of my films also have like a stop motion component or like a physical component in some way where I build sets like dollhouse size or like model train sort of scale, depending on how big the thing is that I need to build. Like if it's like a whole town or like a house, it'll be model train scale. So they're like 3 inches, 4 inches tall. And then if it's like the interior of a space, I do like dollhouse scale, because then I could buy like a dollhouse door, which is a lot cheaper than making one. Or a lot, it's not cheaper, sorry, excuse me. It's less time expensive to buy a door and buy a little window than it is or repurpose one that I've already used instead of having to make one that looks relatively realistic. So I could get away with finding some elements that way. But for this one, initially I was going to watercolor all of it, and I was going to make all these like natural inks. I made inks out of like avocado pits and coffee and beets and like just random like flowers and stuff like that I found to make like very natural colors. I was working with a color palette. I wanted to be mostly brown and red and orange. With a little bit of yellow in there. So natural colors were like very well suited for that. But then once I really sort of got into the animation process, and I was really thinking realistically about how quickly I wanted to be able to finish this and how expensive it was going to become if I was like buying watercolor paper and making each of these animated drawings on watercolor. I'd still be working on it, and I'd be working on it for like another decade. So I ended up kind of scrapping that, unfortunately. I learned a lot in the process, and I do want to maybe make some natural. I do still have some that I like turned into watercolor, so they're like a hard substance that I could just add water to use. So I do want to use them one day. I do still have them, but I ended up kind of scrapping that part and then just sort of making it fully digitally using Toon Boom Harmony. And then he was, like I said, he was an accountant. So I actually, when we had to go through the really difficult process of cleaning out his house, he still had a lot of like tax documents from like the 90s and 80s, like that I ended up using. I scanned it and then ended up using it as a background in a lot of the film as well. So I was still able to kind of get sort of the collage look that I wanted, but without taking, forever to get it done.
I love that too, repurposing all that old stuff that you have around the house and just having in that really unfortunate time and making it something like a love letter to them.
Yeah.
So going off of that and just hearing about all of the natural things and working on your short, what are you most excited for people to see about this short? And if anybody would like to watch it, like any of our listeners or even myself would like to watch it, where would we be able to find it?
So right now, unfortunately, I can't put it fully online yet. I do plan on doing that. But I can send you a link to watch it if you want to watch it. But unfortunately, it has to remain a private link for now. It would disqualify me from a lot of film festivals if it was available to watch publicly at the moment. But in another 2 years, usually film festivals accept films that are 1 or 2, up to 1 or 2 years old. And so eventually it's going to be too old to be in them anyway. And once it is, I'll put it online for all to see. But for now, the trailer is available on my website, as well as a lot of the pre-production stuff. And then hopefully in 2 years, into about 2.5 years, the actual film itself will be available on my website. But of course, I could send you guys a private link if you want to watch it.
Of course, I would love to, honestly, you know that.
I was going to say, I'm not going to say no to that because that does sound awesome.
Do it.
But what was some of your favorite processes like working on this and going through all of just everything about it? Like, it sounds like it truly is just a love letter from your heart.
There were parts of it that were honestly just really hard to animate, and I kind of struggled with it. My mom watched it, and she was like, "I don't know how you like made this without just like crying all the time." And I said, "Well, eventually, I kind of got like over that part, and I was able to just work on it." But the things that I really loved working on was figuring out how to put like the subtlety in personality of my dad, and also of like my brother. Like trying to figure out how they move and behave, but also making it animated was really, really kind of fun and an interesting challenge because, people really close to me, as opposed to me making up someone's personality. They have a personality that I have to demonstrate. So it was a little bit different than me having like kind of creative freedom with what that would be. One of the things that I really learned from this film is I don't think I'll ever make a 3D animated film ever again. I love 2D animation. I always have. When I went to SBA, I learned 3D. I knew how to 2D animate from undergrad, and motion graphics is what I learned in undergrad. And went to grad school, the main focus in that program was 3D, which was one of the reasons why I picked it. And I feel like I love animating. Like I love just drawing something and it is sequential and it is done. And with 3D, you have to like build everything first, and you have to add texture and color, and then you have to rig it, and then you have to rig its hair and like do hair dynamics and like all this crap before you can even get to the good part that I enjoy, which is the animation process. So I'm like, I'm never doing that again. It took me so much less time to make something that was 2-dimensional, and I didn't have to fight technologically. I knew how to do it, and I could just really spend time honing in on like the story and honing in on character movement, like what I really wanted to say, without the technical mountain that you would have to climb to get to the top of that. And so it really just reminded me how much I love 2D animation, because it's been a while since I've made a full 2D animated film. My last film was 3D. My film before that was also 3D. So that was one of the biggest things. It was just a lot of fun to just work on it.
Oh, that is so amazing to hear.
I have my PTSD right now of undergrad trying to learn Maya right now. I hated 3D so much. If I'm ever going back.
Did you have me for that class? I can't remember.
No, I don't.
There was points where I didn't teach it. Sometimes Jasper Lynn taught it.
Yeah, I had Jasper.
And sometimes Lauren Carr taught it.
Yeah, I had. Oh no, I had. Oh, you just said the name, Cara.
Lauren Carr.
Yeah, I had.
She's the chair there now.
Is she really? Oh my lord. But yeah, I had her, and I just PTSD of that class. I spent so long making a blue Bic lighter flame. Spent so long, and I was so proud of it. And I'm like, yes, I did it. It's like, yeah, that's great.
And how long would it have taken you to draw it?
2 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, there's great qualities to both. I love 3D animation. I realize that
it's a lot.
I love it, but I don't love producing it.
Yeah, it's a lot. The process is a lot. It's a lot.
It's like in like those old Goofy shorts where he's like trying to like listen to instructions on like a record on how to do something. And they're like, go to the beach and fold the chair, and the chair like snaps him.
Yeah.
Like that's what like that's me trying to. And I'm like proficient in this software. I just like hate it. Like it's like you're always trying to like fight with it to get what you want. So yeah, it is. I'm gonna stick to 2D in the future.
And 2D animation is definitely on the rise nowadays, and it's so beautiful to see that. Like we were just recently talking with Tom Moore and Cartoon Saloon and how they're sticking with their 2D animation, and just I was like, yeah, no, we can. It takes a while for us to bang out our movies, but it's just it's unique, and it lets you give your own little flair to what you want. Like, yes, in 3D animation you can have your own flair, but with 2D, it's like that is you, that is your handiwork, that is like it's your signature essentially.
Absolutely, I completely agree. And Cartoon Saloons, just their style, that quality would not be replicated in 3D. I mean, you could, like they could, if they really wanted to, they absolutely 100% could make a stunning 3D film. But just the especially Secret of Kells is the one that just really gets me. And I know that that's their first one, and they've really developed this style and like so beautifully in all of their work as well. But like just that sort of like flat Secret of Kells book style. That like Celtic, Irish, just and the lush green and it just the flatness of it is the part that makes it gorgeous.
It would not translate. It could translate to 3D, but it would not translate the way that they would want it to in 3D.
I mean, they'd have to fight with the software to get it to do that. Where 2-dimensionally, it just lends itself to it naturally.
Yeah, and who really wants to fight with hardware and software when you're doing stuff where it's like you're already just bonked out of your mind where it's like, I love this, I hate this, I love this. Why do you want to toss in something else that's going to make you even more crazy? It's again, stupid.
Like Goofy.
To all the 3D animators out there, I'm sorry. This is coming from an ignorant person, but at the same time,
someone who's made multiple 3D films.
So, being someone who has worked in education and industry and kind of also worked like doing that simultaneously at points too, what do you think is the biggest disconnect that students think that the industry is or what it is like in the industry versus what it's actually like? What do you think the biggest disconnect, especially people coming into it today?
Really good question. I think the biggest hurdle for most students, and it's not something that they're disconnected from, but I think the biggest hurdle with the majority of students is the time it takes to be an animator. Like it's very time consuming. It is a time consuming medium. And there was someone that I did an interview with like years ago with my last film in Oxford, Mississippi, and he said, well, it's the top of the pyramid. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? And I said, obviously, I think it's the top of the pyramid because I love animation, but what do you mean by that? He's like, well, you're drawing, you're acting, you do sound design, you do editing, you do photography, you do and composition, color theory, painting, like every single thing in animation is sitting at the top of that. And you have to do all of those things to make an animation. And I'm like, yeah, that is, I mean, yes, that is what that is. Like, absolutely. So I think sometimes like a really big disconnect is like, you see animation your whole life, but making it and being able to strategize the time to do that is really hard to do. And it can be very impossible to do, especially when you're juggling a lot of other things, a lot of other classes. And it always takes longer than you think it will to make something really good that someone's going to want to see in a portfolio. The other big thing that I think is kind of, I wouldn't call it a disconnect from students, but it's just something that, as I'm teaching like Gen Z now and no longer millennials, which is, I'm a millennial, I'm an elder millennial. And so as I've been teaching over the last, oh my God, since I've been teaching since 2011. So a really long time. In that 17 years, no, 15 years. And in that amount of time, I've noticed that like students are getting more like weirded out about like networking and presenting their work and talking to someone that they're intimidated by about their work, and taking those chances in a way that like didn't used to happen. And I think a big part of that is maybe that we're just so connected to technology that we just see all of these things that are better than we could make. And so it is intimidating. There's a lot more imposter syndrome now, I think, among everybody. I feel more like that than I did a decade ago. You could go online and find like 100 people better than you in like 5 minutes that have a better following than you. And you know what I mean? So like, it gets kind of like, feels a little like the mountain is really too tall to climb. Like we're trying to climb Mount Everest now. And so, but the best way to start is just one step at a time. And it is a compound effect, right? So you just have to like try. And you can't be worried about being awkward, because we're all artists. We're all really, really awkward. We are awkward. Like animators are awkward people. We're all nerds. We all like the same type of things. Like you talk to us about like Pokemon or Marvel movies or like YouTube series, and eventually you're going to hit one that the other person's really excited to talk about. Cats, you know, like just find a topic and talk to that person. And I think that networking is like always is becoming a bigger and bigger hurdle for younger students that I've encountered.
It is such a lost skill to just go out and put yourself out there. I remember right after undergrad too, that was like the biggest thing to do with my thesis project. I made my animated pitch Bible, and everybody told me, go pitch it, go do it, just go put it out there. You never know what's going to happen. I pitched it at Frederator, and I actually got really awesome feedback. I was pretty close to doing things, but ended up putting it away for a while and haven't touched it since. But like that, it's such a point to say, go out there and take the risk, have that 5 seconds of courage, and just ignore all the inhibitions that every animator, dorky person, nerd feels when presenting something that they've like poured their heart and soul into. And it's like, please accept this. I really want you to like this. I did like 700 hours of work into this. I want you to like this.
Most people in the animation industry are like so happy to see another person's work and talk about it and provide feedback. And if they don't answer, it's 99% of the time is not because they're like, ugh. It's not because they're like choosing not to. It's because they're too busy, and it just like got at the bottom. It just ended up like being at the bottom of a gigantic pile of emails, and it can't be a priority at the moment because of that. So it's truly like almost never, because they don't want to talk to you.
So just kind of going off of that a little bit, and hearing that you've been teaching for, I'm gonna who hears. What's one skill that you used to teach when you first started out that has become like less important over the time?
Very good question. Yeah, think about that one. A lot of like what I'm teaching are like the basics and fundamentals of like 3D and 2D animation. And so a lot of that doesn't really change. But I have some of the things that are like less important is backing stuff up on an external hard drive because you have cloud networks now. So that process has changed a lot. Some of the other really big ones is like how you market yourself has changed a lot. And so I would say that there's a bit more of how I've like kind of shifted with some of those things are. I wouldn't say anything is like less important. It's just changed how we do it.
Okay.
Trying to think of what else. That's a really good question. I'll have to think about that one. But I feel like for the most part, I teach a lot of the same stuff. I think if I were teaching, say, like a thesis class, I would have a different answer for you, or a foundations class, but I'm somewhere in between. So I'm teaching kind of a lot of the same stuff. Software might change. Some of the techniques might change, but for the most part, in my case, a lot of my stuff has remained kind of the same.
Okay. And that's good to know that like the basics stay the basics. It's not like, the math that we learned growing up as millennials and elder millennials that like I talk to some of the kids that I work with. They're like, oh, we're doing this. I'm like, what? Huh? I don't understand what you're talking about.
I've seen that where it's like it's a little graph and there's like different numbers and eventually they get to the answer. As opposed to the way that we learned how to do multiplication. I've seen my like.
It's so stupid. And I automatically think back to like the one scene from The Incredibles 2 where Mr. Incredible just almost crashes out on Dash. He's like, math is math. Why would they change math if math worked? So it's good to know that like the foundations and the fundamentals are like pretty solid, that they don't have to change. It's like, hey, cool. If you know how to do this, you're doing the same thing that like Walt Disney did.
Absolutely.
You're doing the stuff that like Bob Finger did when he was creating things. You're doing things like Jack Kirby. I'm like, okay, cool. That's awesome.
Fundamentals like animating a bouncing ball, animating a walk cycle. All of those things are still required. The basics of human movement and anatomy are still 100, and just like physicality of objects, still very necessary.
Awesome. So in all of the stuff that you've done, we asked this to a lot of the people that we have interviewed, all 2 other people that we have interviewed. If you could work in any IP, what is the one IP that you would want to work in?
Any IP.
And I want to see if it tracks with us, Rob.
Let me think. Man, I have a couple that I would have liked to work on that are no longer in production, but definitely Adventure Time would be one. I loved that, and I think that I have that kind of like humor. So definitely Adventure Time. In terms of movies, I mean, I would have to be a very different age, but I would have loved to work on like The Nightmare Before Christmas.
I personally love that. Steve, on the other hand,
that is so much better.
What is better?
Corpse Bride.
Corpse Bride is so very good. Corpse Bride is very good. Nothing for me beats like the scene when he goes to like the Christmas town and everything's very glittery. Like I just love how that looks. Like that's what I'd want to have.
Okay. So it does not track with our other 2 interviewees. They both chose Batman.
No, I'm not. I've never been a big like superhero person. But my number one, if I could have worked on any movie or any IP at any point, The Last Unicorn.
Oh my God!
100%.
Yes. Oh, I didn't say it for once.
You didn't. I'm so proud of you.
100% The Last Unicorn.
That's such a funny answer, and I love that because it totally fits in the image I have of you in my head of like what would she be working on? That totally fits.
It is that movie has influenced so much of like my personal style and just like the things that I'm interested in and like the way that I draw. Like the way that I draw hair is directly influenced from that style in that film.
Last Unicorn, that's such a beautiful movie that like I don't think could be made today with how everything was about it. Excuse me, listeners, I have a little bit of a cold.
Oh
no. But that's awesome. Just hearing how you were talking about creating the colors before for your most recent short. The one thing that just was like kind of running through my mind that like hearing how you're like, I want to do a lot of like browns and like reds and a little bit of greens and yellows. It's like, ooh, I want to see you do The Legend of Zelda.
Oh, you would have such a fun.
That's my favorite IP. I always want to see people do
yours.
Legend of Zelda. Oh yeah, if you couldn't tell, there's a master sword behind
yeah.
me.
Oh yeah, I clocked that.
I am a massive Legend of Zelda fan, and not to date this episode, there was just recently a Nintendo Direct that I almost squeed at when they announced that they're coming out with a remake of Ocarina of Time. That I was like,
I that's interesting. I like saw some chatter about that, and I'm like, something's happening, and I'll look at it later. And I forgot, but I'm glad you brought that up. So I was trying to figure out what was going on.
Oh, just the animation in that alone, and like the little short, like 45-second to like minute and a half teaser that just shows a tapestry and like no movement of stuff, just looks absolutely gorgeous.
I'm gonna have to look it up. That sounds amazing.
They have the movie coming up too soon, right? In 27, I think.
Is it 27?
It's going to be live action though, and it from everything that we've seen from screenshots that have been leaked, it looks absolutely gorgeous.
Awesome, good. I hope they do a good job because it's so disappointing when it isn't done well.
Oh yeah, no, and the Zelda community, as loving as we are and as generous as we are when it comes to the IP itself, we will burn Nintendo down if they mess this up.
They'll deserve it.
I mean, it's gotta be done right?
Yeah.
I mean, like the Super Mario movies have been kind of close to being done the right way, even though a lot of people will criticize it's like basically like a giant ad for the Mario games. Like, what else are you expecting it to be?
What you want.
That's what a lot of the cartoons have been anyway. Like, all the 80s like cartoons were made to sell toys.
Yeah, I was gonna say we've gone full circle for that. It's no longer we're trying to sell toys; it's we're trying to sell video games, which they tried to do the tie-ins for that back when we were kids too.
He-Man and She-Ra are like some of my favorite animated series growing up, and I had all the toys and this and that. I did not have Castle Grayskull, which I still think about, but I had like all the action figures. I had Battle Cat.
We all have that one toy that's like a white whale to us.
That was mine. I did not have that. And I saw that the popcorn. I'm not. I don't want to like poo-poo someone else's like really exciting thing, but I don't like want to own those like popcorn buckets, and I know that they're like a really big deal. I know a lot of people that collect them, but when I saw the one for He-Man and the Masters of the Universe film, I was like, I do actually kind of want that. All the popcorn comes out of it. Like it's Castle Grayskull, and you could take a turret off, and that's your cup. And then you have
that's so cool.
And then the popcorn, like the mouth, like door opens just like it does in the actual toy, and the popcorn can come out of the mouth.
That's
and I'm
so
like,
cool.
I showed it to my husband. He's like, I really want that, but not for $45.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
We're closer to like 50 something. But we were both like, oh my god. But I've heard like very mixed reviews about that movie. So I want to see it. We haven't had
I've heard it is a steaming hot pile of garbage.
It's not coming in great on the reviews
either.
either.
More and more bad reviews. I heard some good ones at the beginning, but now I'm just hearing more and more bad. So
because it's taken what made He-Man fun and threw it out the window, just like most other things do when they were like, oh, we're going to adapt He-Man. And it's like, cool, make it campy, make it fun, give them quippy one-liners, make it big, bombastic action. And they're just like, no, we're going to make it gritty and real, and you'll only get like a little bit of quips towards the end, and we're not going to call characters by their real names. I'm like, come on. And you know that Idris Elba heard Man at Arms and was just like, yep, that's my character. I am 100% playing that character. And they barely use that name in the movie. And he's probably just like, hey, you all suck.
One more question similar to if you were to work on an IP specifically, if you were to shadow an animator throughout history, one of your favorite animators throughout history, or work alongside them for a project, who would it be?
Chuck Jones.
Chuck Jones is fantastic. Like, just the over-exaggeration. I mean, it's a classic. It's a great answer.
I just, I know that I didn't say Looney Tunes for the IP I'd want to work on. I'm not sure I'd want to like work on them necessarily, but I really love his style, like the sort of like baggy, furry. I don't know how else to describe it, but like the Grinch he has like eyelashes, but his skin is also like hanging and baggy and like in a really unique way. And the character design and movement is really very interesting. In the like 60s, How the Grinch Stole Christmas TV special. And then he did that also a lot with a lot of the sort of secondary Looney Tunes characters. Like there's a dog who has like a kitten. I don't know I think his name is.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like the Shaggy dog and the little black and white kitten.
Yeah, the little black and white kitten. And he's always trying to protect it, but they think he's like trying to eat it or whatever. And like just that kind of like the way his like fur moves and like his facial features, like I always think I think I could learn a lot from him.
Or even just looking at Marvin the Martian, who has no facial features. And no facial expressions, but you get all of the emotions from that. So expressive anyway, yeah. Oh, yeah. But I think that's going to be our time. Thank you so much for coming on to our little podcast. And you'll get out to all of our tens of listeners out there. I think we've now upgraded to tens of listeners.
We are international, though, ironically enough. We are in Ireland and Italy and UK. And
amazing.
I think there's a couple like Indonesian ones out there as well. Yeah, we're slowly getting out there. Slowly but surely, season by season. By season like 72, after we're both done with our master's programs, it'll just be like, all right, cool.
Clint, where are you getting your master's?
I've just applied for a master's, and I'm hopefully going to be getting in to a program in Virginia for Christian education, which is
very cool.
What I do right now. It's great being a youth director.
And then I am doing my master's in communication and media arts at Seton Hall U.
Excellent. Very cool. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I wish you both very good luck with both of those programs. Amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for hopping on. We really appreciate it. Just thank you so much for everything.
Very welcome. Thank you for having me.
And thank you guys for tuning into this episode. I hope you guys have learned a little bit more, because I know I definitely did. And we'll see you at the next episode. I've been your co-host, Steve.
And I've been your other co-host, Rob. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And remember, keep this podcast
weird.
Weird.
We almost had it. We almost had it, you little shit.
Almost. We can't seem to ever figure that quite out when we are streaming.
Thank you for tuning into the ADHD podcast. We hope you've enjoyed our nonsense and whimsy. Please make sure to follow us on our social medias. Instagram at Animated Dysfunction Pod. Blue Sky at ADHDpodcast.bsky.social. And TikTok at Animation Dysfunct. Links below in the show notes. Check out our merch store on TeePublic. Links for that are also in the show notes. Thank you again for listening, and remember, keep this podcast weird.